You have reached the most confusing week for gamblers in the NFL, the last week of the NFL season. I am here to help you win money. Am I a professional gambler? No. Am I a professional sports handicapper? No. What am I? I'm a University of Miami graduate in the School of Business in 2001 and University of Miami's great political science and computer information systems, which I don't even think are degrees in the business school anymore. Why is that important? Because this week is more about incentives, not about on-air play. So this video is going to be titled, Why the Most Important Game of the Week, Sunday Night Football, may be the least consequential game of the week. Like and subscribe, hate, and comment. Now, the most important thing in the final week of the season for gamblers should be whether my team that I'm looking at has clinched a first round bye. If you're Green Bay, congratulations. You're not playing next week. If you are a Detroit gambler and you say put $100 down at 8 o'clock Eastern before Green Bay got that first round bye, you're probably hitting a pay window because you went from an 11-point dog to a 1.5 favorite. So what you are going to do is you're going to go to your financial advisor because, as we know, for those of us in Florida, this is for entertainment purposes only because our very temporary online gaming has now been suspended. Let's get that compact working, stupid courts. You're going to go to your financial advisor and you're going to tell him, hey, you could pay me $100 and Detroit loses by 7. Or you can just cash me out now and give me $35. And you may be saying, why would a financial advisor, do such a thing? Because he's probably going to lose $100. He'd rather only lose 35. So he's saving 65. And why would you want to do it? Well, why risk losing 100 when you've guaranteed yourself $35? Gamblers that make money in gambling hedge their bets all of the time. Now, if you do want to hedge your bet with the possibility to make the most money, you would go to your financial advisor and tell him, hey, I've already got $100 on Detroit. Let's put $100 on Green Bay with the 1.5. So if Detroit wins this game by 1, or more likely, Green Bay wins this game by 6, and I'll explain why I don't think Green Bay is totally going to pack it in, even if Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, which it doesn't look like he is. You hit on both sides, and that's really awesome. Now, the second most important thing is, has my team won the division? Now, Kansas City has won the division, and in fact, they are still playing for the number 1 seed. And when the line originally went out, they were 12.5 point favorite. And then it fell down to 10 because the game is on Saturday. Now, Kansas City needs to win so that they have a shot for the number 1 seed. But unlike all of the other teams that are competing for the number 1 seed in the AFC, which are 4, they don't have to scoreboard watch. So it's moved down 2.5 points because when they're up by 18 against Denver, they could turn down the gas. Because while the most important, the best thing for them would be 2 weeks off, the worst case scenario is it's 7 days off, playing the Saturday next. And likely, Kansas City traditionally would be a Saturday game because it's one of the smallest markets in the NFL, and Dallas is going to be in the playoffs, so that's going to be a primetime spot. The Rams are going to be in the playoffs. That's going to be a primetime spot for LA. So, yeah, you might be getting another Saturday game. So they're going to turn it off because keep Patrick Mahomes safe. Keep Travis Kelce safe. Keep Tyreek Hill safe. Keep that defensive cornerback safe. If you're Tennessee, though, you've won your division. You're still playing for number 1 seed. You're going to do everything you can you're not going to dial it down unless you're up by like 3 touchdowns with 8 minutes to go. Because you want the 2 weeks off because, hey, you might want the extra time to maybe incorporate Derrick Henry into a 2-back set. And boom, all roads lead to Tennessee. It's better than having to go anywhere. But if you're scoreboard watching and you're Cincinnati and Kansas City wins, and you don't want to bet Cincinnati early, Kansas City wins. Yes, you could become the 2 seed, but probably not going to happen. Is there really a difference between 3 and 4? So you may rest your guys because you may be on 6 days rest because Cincinnati is even a smaller market than Kansas City. You don't have, the 3-time defending AFC champs or 2-time defending AFC champs, 3-time AFC title game competing. So you may be playing again on Saturday at the worst time spot. You may want to dial it down. Now, where you're not going to see the dialing down is New England and New England and Buffalo. They're going to be scoreboard watching as well. So if Buffalo is up big and New England has a pretty big lead, if you can bet in the second half, let's say at halftime, Buffalo's up by 15 against the Jets, not that unusual, and say New England is up by 10 against Miami, all of a sudden you kind of look at it and go, New England's not going to have a bye, guaranteed 5 spot, guaranteed that they're not going to host a playoff game. You take Miami in the second half. Just a thought. Now in the NFC, the second Saturday game is why incentives matter. Even though the Eagles are the 7th seed right now, they can't go lower because they have the tiebreaker over New Orleans. They're not going to do much against Dallas. That line, by the way, went from a 3.5 point favorite for Dallas to 7. Dallas, on the other hand, while they can't be the number 1 seed, it's better to have the shot that they could host a second round game than go on the road in a second round game. So even though it's 7 points, I would still take Dallas right now. Now, there is going to be some scoreboard watching for the West in the NFC. The Rams have not secured the number 1 seed. They're playing San Francisco, who have not secured a playoff spot. And that is very, very important. That's probably the third most important thing. Have you secured a playoff spot? That game I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. What I would look at is Arizona, because they are going to be scoreboard watching. And again, if you can bet on the second half, and you see San Francisco up by 2 touchdowns, I'd probably put some money on Arizona to win the second half just to make sure they win the division. And on the other side, if the Rams are up by 2 touchdowns, I'm going to put money on Seattle in the second half because Arizona can't do worse than 5. They're going to go on the road. Now, you may be thinking, okay, so why do I think the last game of the week is inconsequential? I'll get to that in one more minute. But when you look at the other games for teams that are not going to the playoffs, is there a cash incentive for you to do well? One of the things that was crazy about Antonio Brown is that by quitting, he was 65 yards away from $1 million bonus. Now, $1 million bonus may not be anything to Patrick Mahomes, but to a guy who's in his 30s, who's playing on his last contract, to a guy who has a very incentive-laden contract that may get, 4 paychecks worth if he hits 70% of the snaps. Or on the other side, if somebody, the most famous one that we know of is Carson Wentz, that pick becomes a first-round pick if they go to the playoffs and he makes 70% of the snaps or just plays 75% of the snaps. That first-round pick goes to Philly instead of the second. Some coaches are going to look at that math. They're going to say, hey, I want to get this W, or I've already made my lock. My front office is kind of giving me an incentive, just like the Eagles last year, to tank in the second half to give the Washington football team into the playoffs so they could get a better pick, and then he still got fired. There may be some calls to be like, hey, let's dial this player down. Or some players are going to be like, yo, I need to dial it up because I want to get my money. Which brings us to Are you playing for a job? Now, right now, of course, there are two vacancies. There's the Raiders, who can end that vacancy on Sunday night, maybe, and Jacksonville. Who else is probably going to be unemployed? Probably going to be a change in Chicago. Going to be a change with the Giants. You could argue, something's got to give in Cleveland. Whether it's going to be the quarterback or the coach. But some of these guys are going to be playing for their job. Some of these guys are playing for the coach's job. And in the case of Mr. Love in Green Bay, he's going to be playing for a job maybe somewhere else. Or in Green Bay. We don't know. Remember, Aaron Rodgers, in the second year, got to watch his starting quarterback play the entire year. He got to watch Brett Favre beat a man. Now, if you're Mr. Love, you are playing for the opportunity to lead Green Bay next year. Because the last thing you want to be is in the third year of your 4-year contract at, the 20th pick in the draft money or whatever it is, and not start. Because that could happen. Now, if you ball out, which you did not do in the COVID game, even if Green Bay decides, yeah, you're not going to be our starter, ring, 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 ring. Hey, this is the new GM of the Giants because hopefully Gettleman's gone. We really need a quarterback. You have a backup. Would you trade, say, him and your 7th round pick for our second first round pick? Ring, 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 ring. I got another call. Hey, this is Carolina. We would like to make an offer for your backup quarterback. We'll trade you our second and third. Ring, 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 ring. Oh, I got another call. Hola. Es Miami Dolphins. I don't know why I went with a Spanish accent for the team, and now I've rolled into another accent, and it's horrible. I'm going to stop the accent. This is the Miami Dolphins. We have 2 first-round picks. You have a really good backup quarterback. We'll trade you for both your first and second-round pick to bring Aaron Rodgers here. We'll also trade you the next year's number 1. Ring, 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 ring. So you're getting calls because now you have opportunities, and if you're Mr. Love, you have opportunities. So even though they are now 1.5-point dog, I wouldn't count Green Bay out in Week 18. Oh, and now for why Chargers and Raiders may be the most inconsequential game of the week. If the Ravens win over Pittsburgh, which they are favored, and they've got a really small chance to make the playoffs. And then the Colts lose, which is a firm possibility. They have struggled against Jacksonville. As amazing as that sounds, they have struggled against the awful Jacksonville Jaguars. The Raiders have nothing to play for on Sunday night. They would have already made the playoffs. And so them going from a 2.5-point dog, that thing's going to skyrocket to them being a 10-point dog. Because, yeah, they could eliminate the Chargers and become the 6th seed and get into a buzzsaw against, I don't know, the Bengals? Or they take an L and play the Chiefs, who they see twice a year. All to remove the Chargers from the playoffs? Let the Chargers win. That's a decision that may be made. That's a decision that may come from the Davis family. Hey, do you want to be our new head coach? Dial it down. We've already made the playoffs. So I would scoreboard watch all the early games. I would not touch the Raiders and Chargers until I know that game actually means something. And it only means something if the Steelers win or the Colts win. So like and subscribe, hate and comment. This is a very long video, but I hope you've understood that you are now going to make money off of my dumb ideas.